Well, welcome again. There, we'll flip the page. So we are using this month, it's spiritual living through accountability. So we are doing spiritual living. Put your life where your values are this whole entire year. And this month, we decided to use the 4 agreements because there's no book that talks about accountability in 4 simple steps better than this one. So last week I asked, how many of you people own this book? Everybody's hand went up. How many people have you read this book? Not so many hands went up. How many of you read the book in the last 3 months? Whoo, the number dropped drastically. This should be something like you keep by your bedside. And guess what? He's so brilliant, he even has a little 3x5 one that I carry around in my purse. So in the book, he talks about being impeccable with your word, the toughest agreement of the 4. That's why it's first. I personally beg to differ. I think it's don't take anything personal. Oh, good, I'm not alone. I didn't think I was. So From the Eye of the Storm, it's a book written by Gary Simmons, who is a Unity minister, and I love the book. It talks about being the eye and using the letter I instead of your eye. Being the eye of a storm. No matter what is going on around you, can you be that calm presence? And he says, we have created a virtual reality out of our fears and insecurities and superimposed it upon the landscape of our daily lives. Because here's the deal. We have been raised to believe everything's about us. It's not our fault. It's not that we have any kind of, whatever the hot new disease is. It's not it. We are raised to believe everything is about us. And the truth is, if we could live our life from don't take anything personal, just think about how freeing that would be. If somebody could come at you with their stuff, make it about you, and you could just stand there, let it happen, and then say something brilliant like, how can I support you? Instead of, what do? They're starting, and then in our mind, we've already started to build a response. We know exactly what we're going to say, how we're going to say it. How dare them talk to me like that? We've got all the answers. So the minute they have an opportunity to stop talking, or sometimes even before they stop, as a human, what we do is we jump right in because we want our side of the story to be known. Because our side of the story is really, really important. Our side of the story is not any more important than their side of the story. And the truth is, it's the same story. We've just got different perceptions. And so that is the brilliance of not taking anything personal. Can you allow other people to have their opinions? Because remember what opinions are like. Noses. And everybody has one. Most of us have way more than one. And we are willing to share our opinions with everyone that will listen. And it's really one of my biggest practices. And I love how God works in my life, or the universe or spirit, whatever you want to call it. So, completed last week's talk and knew that don't take anything personal was what I needed to prepare myself for this week. So guess how cute the universe is? Just so funny. Just so funny. I had an opportunity to practice that way more often than I wanted to. Way more often. I was finally like, enough already. I'm shutting down my cell phone. I'm not going to look at my email. Facebook is off the table. My in-laws have now gone back to Boston. It was just an onslaught of how do I choose to be in the world? Because the truth is, you are the only person in the world that gets to decide how you're going to be. You are the only person. When things happen to you and you react to them, that's not the event itself, has nothing to do with you. How you react to the event event, that has everything to do with you. I wish I could say that I had this nailed. After this week, I can tell you I have a long way to go. However, I have learned with all the opportunities that were presented to me to not respond when I call it I'm on the edge. Do any of you have that personality that you know that it's out there and you just don't let it out of the box that often? Maybe with your husband or your wife or, but a lot of people don't get to see that personality that just goes, whoo, fireworks. Oh, fireworks, like the song, in a good way. And so one of the practices to get there is like, okay, so let's take baby steps. So I got an email, and rather than just respond to it, I wrote my response, and then I sat with it. And then I had 3 friends. I had one friend listen to it. I read it to them. Had 2 other friends read it. Is it nice? That's what I wanted to know. Is it nice? Yes, it's nice. Go ahead and send it. Because the old me would have written an email, probably wouldn't even started 2 days later. I probably would have wrote it the minute I received their email and sent it. And then reread the email and oh, whoops, that's not what they said. Because that's the other thing. We see with the eyes we see from. We hear with the ears we hear from. And so everything is filtered. Everything is filtered. You can say good morning to me and I'm like, good morning. And you can say good morning to somebody else and they might say, don't say good morning. What's so good about it? What's so good about this morning? There's people out there that do that. And then you just start to say morning so that, it's like, no, it's not morning, it's noon. So how do you live this way? So we are a center. If you remember reading Genesis purpose statement, it says ancient wisdom. We're built on new thought and ancient wisdom. And so the Stoics are from an ancient wisdom, 3 BC, Hellenistic society. And they are very much, what I love about all of these philosophies is somebody will say, don't take anything personally. And in their philosophy, what they say is, events don't upset you. Beliefs do. So it's not the person in front of you it's upsetting you at all. It's the belief you have around either what they're saying or how they're behaving. That's what upsets you. Or that's what brings you joy. And again, who is that happening to? You. Now, are they having their own personality issue or event? Yes, they are. And that's theirs. 2 things we do as humans. We either want to defend ourselves or we want to go in and fix them. How many of you have had a friend that is just like, in the middle of telling you so many things, and instead of listening to them, what you've been doing is running, oh yeah, I remember when that happened to me. Oh, I can hardly wait till they finish so I can share my story with them. You have just pulled the rug out of their event. So it's about, don't take anything personally, is about, can you live from the inside out? It's the basis of what we teach here. Each one of us, every single one of us, like that song said, has a spark. Every single one of us. There is not a human on this planet that doesn't have that spark. Ernest Holmes said there's not a spot that God is not. So basically that spark is in that chair because a human designed it, a human made it. It's been touched by the divine. And so to live from that, to be that, to know that. And when you know that, can you look at somebody that maybe you're having a disagreement with, and instead of becoming defensive, instead of building up evidence of why you're right and they're wrong, can you just stand and let them be? Now, I will tell you, when you first try this with somebody that you've had as a dance partner for a long time, do you know what I mean by dance partner? Good. Does anybody not know what I mean by dance partner? Okay. So when you change the dance steps, have you ever done that? Are a lot of you dancers, especially slow dances or foxtrots where everybody's got a move they're supposed to make? You know what happens when one of those people changes steps? The other person starts to step on you. They may trip. You may fall. So normally, if you're in a relationship and you've been playing this game, they have an event, and then you respond to the event, and it gets all icky. And then you walk away, and it's kind of everybody's sorry. And then 3 days later, you have an event, and they have an event, and it's icky. Everybody's sorry. What if you didn't? They have an event, and you just didn't. So what I'm going to tell you, because I always like to warn people of this. This person having the event, they're going to push a little harder. Because they want you to dance. I'm not saying that they're thinking this is a human. Like, I want that person to behave a certain way, so I'm going to go through and do this. No, it's that, remember the 2-year-old child? The one that we always let drive our bus when we're deciding not to be a grown-up? That's the one that wants to play. So what happens to a 2-year-old when they're having a meltdown and you don't pay attention to them? They get louder. They start running around rooms and knocking over chairs. We've all been 2-year-olds. We've all been around 2-year-olds. That, unfortunately, or fortunately, is our default place to go when we feel threatened. Isn't that funny? That we put all of our faith in what we heard when we were a small child. And so I invite you to you can never get rid of that small child, just so you know. You can love her or him, and you can talk to it, because everything's energy. Like, how about today if we just don't respond? I know you want to respond, but shh. Yes, I have conversations with myself. I'm my best listener. So just think about how your relationships would shift if you quit making your whole life about what was happening to you and took responsibility for what you're creating. That truly, when you take away everything that we teach in this philosophy, that's the nugget. If you can live your life from that place of knowing that the events around you aren't about you, that you can stand in your truth, you can create your own events. And if you create that event from within, and it's an event that you've created from the love of the divine, from that spark, just imagine if everybody in this room started to behave that way. Every single one of us. For a day. Let's pick Monday. Now watch what's going to happen. You're all going to be, Spirit's going to give you all an event. And you're going to respond and go, oops. But let's try Monday. All day Monday, regardless of what happens, you look at the event and say, that's really not about me. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to play with it. I can stand here and honor the person that's having the event, whatever it is. And then maybe say, is there anything I can do to support you? How golden would the world be if we quit defending ourselves? If we quit living from that place of, I have to look good, or that place of, I don't want to look bad? What if we gave up all those games and really started to live a life of, I'm not going to take anything personally? And I will tell you, it's a practice, because God obviously wanted me to practice that all week long. I didn't come close to 100%. And I practiced. Every time it came up, I would laugh because I would think, seriously, again? Really? Out of the blue? Really? Where'd that come from? I haven't heard from those people for 3 months. Not about me. Their stuff. How can I be with that? And so just to stand and be and love yourself so much to totally realize, and I know I say this every single Sunday, you have that spark within you. That spark is what I refer to as God. You can call it anything you want to. I used to say, call it Bob if you want to. I don't think something that creates this magnificent really cares what we call it or if we call it anything. And to know that you are part of it. That the person sitting next to you is part of it. That the people that have to lay on the streets in sleeping bags are part of that. Every person is part of it. The separation comes from when they don't know it. They've never been told how beautiful they are. My mother-in-law calls her children or texts her grandchildren once a week. What she says to them is, never forget how beautiful you are. You make a difference in somebody's world because you're making a difference in mine. You are brilliant beyond belief. I love you. Once a week. She'd probably do it every day, but she doesn't want to stalk them. You know, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. She's not New Thought. She just believes that if we spread more positive in the world, more positive will happen. How do we forget that? And so I invite you to think about every single day, what do you have to be grateful for? What's your vision for your life? Maybe you're living it, congratulations, but what's your vision for your life? And if you're living it, how can you grow that? Because if you're breathing, your vision hasn't stopped. It's more. Remember, with God, more please, thank you. More please, thank you. And so each one of us is that spark that Darrell's saying about. Every single one of us has it. We have either forgotten, we've been told it's not true, or we're scared to death of what would happen if we let it shine. What would happen? Do you think that we'd all fall off the world? If you really started to be the true you that you've come here to be? No, what would happen is there'd be more joy, there'd be more love, there'd be more compassion. There'd be more of the things that we value so highly in life because we'd start to live and be that. And so that's what I invite you to do. It's not about really not taking anything, well, I guess it is, but it's about realizing you have control over your life. Nobody else does. I think that I had shared this, we talked about this once, and Misha was talking about some nuns. And I remembered the story about a Jewish doctor that was helping prisoners of war in World War II. And the Nazis found out about it. And so they stripped him down naked and took his wedding ring. It was the only thing he had left of his family. The only thing he had left. They wanted him to hate them. That was their goal. And what he stood there, and he says as proud as he could, he looked them in the eye and said, I will never become you. Do what you have to do. I will never become you. That's the gift we can give to the world, is to understand we need to spread the love. We need to spread the joy. We need to know that those events out there, they're not mine. And so if you can't change the event, don't be part of it. You know, it's like, what's that? Be the solution, not the problem. And so I invite you all to just take a deep breath. Stand up for a minute, because you all seem a little, shake your bodies around. There's funky energy in here today. Darrell, you got the next song really loud? Yeah. And so we stand in that essence of God. Every single one of us right here, right now, standing on holy ground. That is what Kim said. That is the truth. We are standing on holy ground. We forget it. We ignore it. And yet, what if we said yes? And so in this time, in this space, right here and right now, knowing God is all I am, God is all that you are, we stand firmly in the essence, standing on holy ground, knowing that we are not separate, that we are all contained in the mind of the divine. Whatever you want to call it, however you need to relate to it, just do it, be it, become it. This is your calling. The phone's ringing. Pick it up, for crying out loud. Say yes to what it is that's been calling you to express yourself, to be you, to love the world, and to spread that out so the craziness will not affect us, and eventually the ripple effect of us will be so big it won't exist. That's what I invite you to do. That's the truth of who we are, and in that I say thank you, God. Thank you for this community. Thank you for this holy ground that we stand on. Thank you for who we are and why we're here. Knowing that we are Genesis, we make a difference because we show up. And so I turn this all over into the law, knowing that as it's spoken, it's already so, it's done. The universe, the ascended masters, the angels are dancing and singing in delight because we are here. And we can feel the God bumps already. As maybe the yes is a whisper, but someday it will be a roar. I let go and I let God. And so it is. Amen.